Hello again, everybody. Welcome to Dallas Cowboys Overtime here on StarTelegram.com. I am Fort Worth Star Telegram columnist Mac Engel. He is Mr. Clarence E. Hilt Jr., knower of all things Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys only have one more fake game before the start of the regular season. That game is on Saturday night against the Las Vegas Raiders. Want to call them Oakland Raiders. But Clarence, before we get to that, we have breaking Cowboys news. Dallas Cowboys second-year defensive end Sam Williams, who figured to have a pretty prominent role in their defensive line and specifically their pass rush, has been arrested. Typically, that's not a good thing. Would you care to fill in the good folks here on Cowboys Overtime, sponsored by Window Nation? What exactly happened to Mr. Williams this time?
I mean, this is 2023, right? Aren't you supposed to be able to carry a gun in Texas? Aren't we? In this the wild, wild west, you can carry a weapon, and
that's a good point.
And weed and was supposed to be illegal.
Yeah, where are we? I mean, what are we living in the Soviet Union? Is this Russia?
What's going on? Is Brittany Griner all over again? Anyway, basically, Sam Williams was arrested Sunday night in Frisco for carrying a controlled substance and the unlawful carrying of a weapon. The controlled substance is a state felony. It's a low-level state felony. The weapons charges is a misdemeanor. You know, he should get those worked out, but it's still another blemish, another black eye for the Cowboys heading to the season. Certainly another blemish on Sam Williams' record, who, had red flags in the draft and dropped in the draft because of those red flags. And then last year, as a rookie, he had a promising rookie year on the field. In December, he has a car wreck going 100 miles an hour on 55, and was arrested. He had a warrant out for his arrest for that. It was basically misdemeanor reckless driving, but he almost, it could have been a really serious accident. He totaled his car and he had to go to the hospital, and he sideswiped another a car, and that could have been bad. So that's poor decision making. It's another example of poor decision making by one Sam Williams, who's taking his second-year jump on the field, but poor decision-making off the field.
Clarence, I think what everybody wants to know immediately is that will this, minor infraction with the law, will it affect his...
I mean, the Cowboys are back. Super Bowl bound, baby. Super Bowl bound.
That's a good sign.
Bad boys are back.
Where's the White House?
Bad boys are back. Bad boys are back.
So will it affect his availability for week one of the regular season?
I doubt it. With the NFL, usually things like this. You remember Alvin Kamara was just suspended this year for something that happened 2 years ago, over a year and a half ago, whatever else. So I doubt if the NFL, even if he is convicted or something like that, if NFL deals with it until next seation. This is not something
season. Next season.
Well, before next season. I doubt if, because it's going to run its course. They're going to put a stay and they're going to do whatever, and they're going to probably delay it until it's, it resolved. The legal issues are resolved locally until after the season, I'm sure, and then the NFL will deal with it. But they won't deal with it until it's resolved. And so most likely it won't affect this season.
If at all. And I'm asking you to play mind reader here, but Clarence, the Cowboys always love risks in the second round.
Second round risk.
Every time.
Or injury guy in the second round.
Randy Gregory wasn't an injury case, but he was a red flag guy. They invested in all.
Boss man, fat red flag guy, and it showed up. Red flags always show up.
They do, and I know we all. I don't want to say we took the bait, but we certainly heard what the Cowboys sold, which was this guy seems like having a kid going through this stuff. He kind of gets it now, and he's kind of figured some things out. I'm sorry, you're driving 155, and certainly if you're doing this stuff now, this guy doesn't get it. Is there anything that gives you an indication this guy is not going to be anything other than a continued series of red flags in his NFL career?
And you hope something like this is a wake-up call, but as far as the Cowboys are concerned, right now is all that matters. If he can help them win right now, they'll worry about later.
Okay, let's go on to a really unfortunate topic, and by unfortunate I mean injuries, which clearly are no fault of their own. The Dallas Cowboys in their last preseason game on Saturday in Seattle, which you were covering, lost two promising rookies, specifically third-round pick former Texas linebacker Demarion Overshawn suffered a torn ACL. He's out, as well as former TCU tight end John Stevens also out. Now, Stevens' contributions kind of up in the air, but certainly Overshawn looked like a guy as preseason progressed, looked like he was going to be a player. He's been very upbeat and optimistic since the diagnosis. Says, I'm going to lean into this. Sounds like he's going to attack rehab and he'll be ready for next year. But Clarence, this is a big loss. Did they have anybody else? I mean, their season haven't started yet. Who's going to be that guy that looked like he was going to occupy a pretty decent role even early on in the regular season?
Well, yeah, it's a huge loss, and the thing about it is that we talk about guys who have slow starts. We talk about last year's third round pick, Jalen Tolbert, who was basically a disappointment. Overshawn came in, hitting the ground running from day one, and Mike McCarthy, Jerry Jones said he was the star of the rookie class. They have a first round pick in Miles Smith, they have a second round pick in Luke Schoolmaker, but Overshawn from Arp, Texas, University of Texas, was a star of the rookie class. They had a lot of expectations for him. They said he hit the ground running. He was ready to go. They were very excited about him. He was actually going to, not just play on special teams as a rookie, but not just be the third linebacker, but play a role. And he was going to kind of do some of the things that Jaron Kearse does when they use the safety, those three nickel in the three nickel defense, and that big nickel defense, as they call it, with three safeties, to keep him some of the physicality off of Kearse and use.
Okay, I was wondering where you were going with that.
I got an email. I emailed.
I understand. Go ahead. Don't worry about it.
Frisco police. I was looking at that. So kind of. But
that's a distraction.
But what the Cowboys did do, and I'm sorry, what the Cowboys did do, they're moving Marquise Bell from safety to linebacker. They're very thin at linebacker. That's the
it's going to be a very thin linebacker too.
Yeah, he's a thin linebacker being a safety, but they're moving Marquise Bell from safety to linebacker to do some of those physical things that you were expecting from Overshawn. But they're thin at linebacker. After Damone Clark and after Leighton Vander Esch, they have nothing proven. And they really were excited about what you're going to get from Overshawn and Jabril Cox, kid, fourth round pick from LSU a couple of years ago. The light has not come on in him. He got hurt his second year or his first year, got hurt as a rookie with a torn ACL, and he's not been the same. He's not come on. So they asked him questions at linebacker, behind their top two, I guess top three when you include Michael Parsons, who's more of a defensive end than linebacker. So they're moving Marquise Bell from safety to linebacker to help shore up that position.
Would they trade for anybody?
I mean, we'll see. It depends on who's out there. Right now they're going with the Marquise Bell experiment, and we will see what that looks like, in the final preseason game.
Well, one thing that's not going to be an experiment, although it sounded like it was going to be a couple months ago, is the idea that Deuce Vaughn can make an NFL roster. Deuce Vaughn has continued to impress, certainly did in Seattle, but it looks like this guy's spot on the team is a total given. He'll make the 53. I think the question for me, Clarence, is how many touches a game can we expect out of Deuce Vaughn? Tony Pollard's going to be your RB1, great. So, and they think that they can move Deuce Vaughn around and put him in other spots. Clarence, are we thinking 8 to 10 times this guy might see the ball a game or more than that?
It just depends. I mean, I think that you're going to 8 to 10. Let's get 8. Let's start there. I mean, you're going to get about a Tony Pollard. You're going to use Rico Dowdell. You're not going to try to give him a lot of carries. It's a spot use, but you want to be able to use him. There are things that he can do that impact the team. Jerry Jones is very excited about Deuce Vaughn and what he can do, the special things, his ability to make people miss. And he's a fan favorite, and he's exciting. And we saw him in college, and everybody said he's so small. Well, that's to his advantage. It's not a detriment; it's an advantage for him because defensive linemen can't see him. He can cut on a dime. He makes safeties and defensive backs running each other. The Cowboys are going to try to be smart in using him, but they are going to try to use him to score touchdowns.
I remember when Bill Parcells talked about little guys playing in the NFL. He was talking about Dave Meggett and some other guys. As long as they stay healthy and they don't lose that pop, that quickness, and that burst, they can last. And it looks like Deuce Vaughn has those capabilities, and certainly just the makeup. He's such an impressive young guy that it's hard to bet against Deuce Vaughn. All right, we got more to talk about here on Cowboys Overtime, but first, a word from our friends at Window Nation.
Window Nation, the star of window replacement and proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys, can help you fill the house this season with savings. Buy 2 windows, get 2 free, and make no payments and pay no interest until 2025. Fill your house for a customized authentic Dallas Cowboys jersey while supplies last. You could even help fill the Cowboys house and win tickets to a game. Visit windownation.com/Cowboys now for details. Call 866-95-NATION. Window Nation, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, thank you very much, Window Nation. Back here on Cowboys Overtime, StarTelegram.com. I'm Mac Engel. He's Clarence Hill. Clarence, before the game on Saturday night in Seattle, we had a very unique pregame Cowboys experience. One wide receiver, Brandin Cooks, decided to fly his teammates around the Emerald City. It's defensive back Stephen Gilmore, and who was the other one that he had with him?
The great Micah Parsons, the best player on the team.
That's right. It was Micah Parsons. And Air Brandin Cooks, now he's a licensed pilot. It's not like he just went up there on a whim, flew his teammates around. And from what I understand, Jerry Jones wasn't exactly thrilled with that. Clarence, I love this kind of stuff. I would fly with Brandin Cooks. If you're a licensed pilot and you're of sound mind, I'll get in a plane with you. You don't want to die. You know what you're doing.
Yeah, but you're crazy. You're crazy.
I'm not crazy. It's acceptable.
I'm getting to fly. If you're a licensed pilot, I'm getting to fly. That's crazy.
Would you not fly with Brandin Cooks?
No.
My impression was Jerry Jones.
I'm not jumping out of airplane.
I did that. I've done that.
Brandin Cooks, okay? I'm not doing it. I'm
okay.
Sorry. It just takes one mistake. You're crazy.
With Jerry Jones,
you would do that because you go to the motor speedway and let the guys take you around.
No, I take that back.
I love me. I love me some me.
I'm a fan of me. I don't want to die. When I did my flights, well, one of them I didn't tell many people that. I did fly one of them, and it was an aerobatic plane. It was one of the Red Bull planes. It does all these twists and turns.
Yeah,
and
I'm
stuff.
not doing it.
And I bailed 5 seconds. Like we were in the plane, and the guy's getting ready to do this, and he says, "All right, you ready?" I told the pilot, he was kind of a famous pilot, and I said, "Hey, Kirby." He said, "Yeah." I said, "Get me out of this bleeping plane." And we landed, and I immediately regretted it. I'm like, I cannot believe I just passed on this ride. So when I got the chance again a couple of years ago, like I'm doing it. And
you could have that. No,
that's fun.
2 things. Brandin Cooks has been flying for 2 years. He has 250 hours. He did take an experienced pilot in the plane with it. It wasn't just him by himself flying solo with his teammates. They did have an experienced pilot flying with them. But it was alarming to Jerry Jones. They went viral. I mean, everything. Everybody said it. It's a great example of the trust, the bonding. They're having fun. Brandin Cooks said we had fun, but Jerry's like, not with all that money I got invested on that plane. Our fortunes don't do that again. So Brandin Cooks has been grounded at least till the end of the season. He's not flying his teammate till after February, after the Super Bowl. Not flying anybody else, not doing it, but they had fun.
I'd do it, especially if I knew there was a pilot with more hours in there. I don't know who's flying the plane 100% of the time I'm in those big, giant commercial jets.
At least you trust that they've gone through some stuff they've done. It's not their first rodeo, okay?
Yeah. All right. Speaking of Super Bowl, Jerry Jones, in talking to the media along with yourself and a few others, said there was a reason why he decided to cave and pay Zach Martin. Why? Because he didn't want to spoil a Super Bowl team. Now, all the years that you and I have covered this team together, Jerry Jones has slowly retreated from making Super Bowl proclamations before the start of the regular season. He had done it for years. He was doing that stuff when Quincy Carter was the quarterback.
Hey,
I like Quincy. But truth of the matter is he's always done it, but now he's scaled that rhetoric back because he knows it's just fodder for sports talk shows. But he did step out and was like, well, if we're going to have a Super Bowl team, we got to have Zach Martin. I can't really fault him for it. It did seem to me like it was the fair, right thing to do between the player, the employee, whatever you want to say, and the team. The question is, Clarence, and I get this question a lot these last couple of weeks, is what's going to happen? And with Zach in the fold, my estimation is before the start of the regular season, this is a really good team. They're going to be a really good team again. They're going to get to the playoffs. They're not going to get to the Super Bowl because they're still level, and I don't see that they're there. Do you think Jerry sees it Do you think Jerry sees this as a Super Bowl team?
No doubt they see it as a Super Bowl team. Not only Jerry, Mike McCarthy, Stephen Jones, Dak Prescott, Michael Parsons. I mean,
who are we missing?
The
kicker?
Marcus Lawrence, DeMarcus Ware, Michael Irvin, Nate Newton. Who do you want? I mean, the thing about it is, I have not seen the Cowboys ever go to the Super Bowl since I've been covering the team. I got like 4 playoff wins on my resume since I started covering the Cowboys. So I'm not going to predict something that has never happened on my watch. But I would say this, if not the Cowboys, then who? I mean, you look at, there's no question that the Cowboys are one of the 3 favorites in the NFC, along with Philadelphia and certainly the San Francisco 49ers. Yeah, there are other good teams, Detroit, Seattle, the other teams with hopes and they could, rise up. But going into the season, there are 3 favorites in the NFC. That's the Cowboys, the Eagles, and the 49ers. And there's no big bad wolf.
No, there's not, but there's always that
no
one
Aaron
team.
Rodgers, there's no Tom Brady, no big bad wolf to be in their way.
No, but there's always one team. We saw it last year with Philadelphia. There's always one team that does come out. I know, and I can't. Everybody loves Detroit right now, and for good reason. It looks like Dan Campbell has that thing going in a direction that is almost foreign to Detroit. But there's always that one team that comes out of nowhere and wins a whole bunch of close games, and then they slide in, and who knows what happens in the playoffs. That's not going to be Dallas. It's just not. And when I look at the NFC, I'm not buying Seattle yet. San Francisco, to me, if they get decent quarterback play, I think that would be my bet. That seems like the safest bet. I have no idea what's going to happen with Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, or any other 50 quarterbacks they have out there. But I think really Jerry believes he's got a Super Bowl team every year. But I think
this is different.
Do you think it's any different than it was this time a year ago, Clarence?
Well, a year ago, I could tell you the team was not as good as it was the year before without Amari Cooper. Okay, this team is more talented than it was at the end of last season. Last year's team was not as talented as it was the year before. I don't care if they had the same record. It was not as talented a football team as it was the year before.
No, and the one thing that concerns me is that under Dan Quinn, this defense has been really good. But I got to tell you, I think injury-wise, they are playing with fire.
Well, every team is.
Dallas a little bit more so because I think their margin for error is a little bit thinner. Because unless their offense proves that they can put up 28 a game, to me, can Tank Lawrence do what he did a year ago?
Yes.
Can Leighton Vander Esch? Okay, he's got to stay healthy. Can Leighton Vander Esch last season was really good. Can he stay healthy and do what he did from a year ago? Can those defensive backs all stay healthy? Can Trayvon Diggs be a little bit closer to what he is 2 years ago as opposed to last year? They made an upgrade at the corner opposite him. Forget boss man fat. It's just a question of, can those guys stay healthy? Well, if they stay healthy, I'm buying it.
I think the defense is better. I mean, you're worried about the defense. I have more concern about offensive line than I do the defense. If you're talking about DeMarcus Lawrence, has been healthy. But the good news about DeMarcus Lawrence, we're talking about Sam Williams. The Cowboys have depth on the defensive line. They have Dante Fowler. They have Sam Williams. They have Dorrance Armstrong.
Do they?
Yeah, they do. They do have Dorrance Armstrong. They have a
he looks good.
At end. They do have some pass rushers. And the secondary is better than it was a year ago, and it was damn good. I mean, you add Stephon Gilmore to replace Anthony Brown, that mess they had at left corner. The secondary was one of the tandem of Diggs and Gilmore is as good as any in the league. And those 3 safeties as a group is as good as any in the league. That secondary is strong to go with Michael Parsons at pass rush. The defense is going to be really good. And I've been watching them every day in practice. They've been destroying things with this offense. And that says more about the defense than does the offense, because the offense is pretty good. The Cowboys offense with Dak Prescott at quarterback has averaged 30 points a game the last 2 years.
All right, let's go on
the field. They score points.
Okay, Clarence is championing Dan Quinn for head coach already. Thanks a lot. Speaking of a team that's not playing well, we're going to deviate from football and go to baseball because fortunately for us, we have had relevant baseball all season long following the Texas Rangers. They've been in first place nearly all season long. However, we have run into a problem. Clarence, the Rangers have lost 6 in a row. And right now, as of this taping, they have the smallest margin of any first place team in Major League Baseball. And They don't have just one team breathing down their neck. They have two. They've got Houston and Seattle, both of which were playoff teams from a season ago, right behind them. Houston is only a half a game back, and the Mariners, which suddenly can't lose, they're one game back. And you've also got a problem north of the border, which is the Toronto Blue Jays. They're breathing down the necks of everybody to potentially grab what would be the third and final wild card spot. Clarence, the Rangers spent $1 billion the last 2 years, almost literally in guaranteed contracts, to have a good team. They are really good. Do you think they're going to hold on, not make the playoffs? It's a two-part question. Do you think they'll hold on to win the division?
Yeah, because I think all three of those teams make the playoffs is with the wild cards. But
you think those are all three? The AL West will have three, and Toronto won't get in because Toronto is pretty much the team that's
right there.
That's a threat.
Seattle is hot. They're playing well. They're excited about it. Houston had another injury. I mean, they just can't get out of their own way, but they're still right there. All the injuries they've had, they're still right there. And the Rangers, the only question about the Rangers, this is all new to them. Can they? This is a new experience. Can they hold on? Can they handle the pressure? Will they live up to the pressure of having to do this in August and in September? That's the only question. I don't know. I haven't watched enough. I don't know about them mentally. The only good news is I think that Houston is not strong enough because they have their own injuries and own issues that they may not be able to overtake them. But I think when the playoff time comes, Houston is the team to watch.
Seattle has scared me Seattle has been building toward this for a while. They made a nice run to get into the playoffs last season. They've got a good team, and finally their pitching has caught up to their hitting. The Rangers' problem, it's a good team. Their outfield has issues. The bullpen is going to be a huge problem. That's a really good team. They're not going to get Josh Young back until maybe 7 or 10 games to go back from his fractured thumb. Catcher Jonah Heim is playing on an injured wrist that almost needed surgery, season-ending surgery. He really hasn't looked the same since he came back from the disabled list. I think the Rangers are going to get into the playoffs. I don't think they're going to win the division. They've got, if you look at the back half, the last month of their schedule, it's Houston a bunch. They got Seattle 7 times. They've got the Twins a couple of times. They've got the Blue Jays in there. I mean, it's a legit last month. It should be a hell of a lot of fun to watch. I think they'll get in. I don't think they're going to win the division.
Well,
Clarence does.
Just get in and let's see what happens. But, it's going to be tough. It's going to come down to the last week, I'm sure, which makes everything exciting. I mean, when have we had something exciting about Rangers baseball in September?
2016. That was it. 2016 was the last time they made a run, got to the playoffs, and then lost to the Blue Jays. All right, this ran too long. Clarence, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Candy, Steve, our fearless producers, thank you very much for your time. For all of your Cowboys coverage needs and Sam Williams updates, check out Clarence and StarTelegram.com. I'm Mac Engel. We will see you next week.